بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على حبيبي رسول الله. ونكمل وإياكم في المحاضرات الأخيرة في الفصل السابع في الشركات وأنواع السوق وآلية تحقيق الأرباح. ونذكر أولا وقبل كل شيء أن هدف الشركات في النظام الرأسمالي وفي النظام الحر وفي نظام السوق هو to maximize profit maximization. وذكرنا في المحاضرة الفائتة كيف نحصل على profit maximization باستخدام المنحنيات الكلية total revenue and total cost. The difference between total revenue and total cost equal the total profit. Now in this lecture we'll continue by calculating profit maximization using the average approach, price and average revenue. We have to remind that price in the perfect competition is constant and equal marginal revenue, and the price line is the same as the demand curve for the single firm. But the price in the industry in general will be determined by the intersection between supply curve and demand curve, as in the left graph the industry. Here, after determining the price, we will find that the firm itself is price taker. It will take the price as it is from the market, and it will never affect the price. It cannot affect the price. It cannot increase or decrease the price. And because of that, we call the firm in the perfect competition as price taker. In the perfect competition, the price is constant and equal the marginal revenue. As clear in the right graph, even when the quantity increase from 100 to 200 to 300 to 340, the price is the same. It is constant. This refers to the condition of price of the perfect competition, that is, each firm is very small so that it cannot affect the price at all. It cannot increase the price, and because of that we call the firm as a price taker, again as I mentioned before. The equilibrium point in the perfect competition happen when the marginal cost equal marginal revenue, and here, as clear, marginal revenue equal price. So the intersection point between marginal revenue that equal the price with the marginal cost is this point. So in the perfect competition, if we want to determine where is the equilibrium point, we have to determine this point, and the price in the equilibrium point is equal 5 and the quantity equal 300. So we call it as quantity star, that is equilibrium quantity, and the condition, as I mentioned again, is when the marginal cost equal marginal revenue, and in the perfect competition the marginal revenue equal the price. As clear here, we can determine how much the profit when we reach the equilibrium point. And we have to remind that the equilibrium point in the perfect competition is to maximize profit, or even if the firm is making losses, so we need to minimize losses. So the equilibrium point is to maximize profit from one side, or even to minimize losses. Here in this graph, again, the equilibrium price is 5, and this firm is a price taker. Take it as it is, as constant price. The equilibrium point is point A, where the marginal cost equal marginal revenue and the marginal revenue equal price. And so in this case we can calculate the total revenue and the total cost. The total revenue equal 300 unit multiplied by the price of each unit that equal 5. So the total revenue equal 300 by 5. And the total cost equal 300 unit multiplied by the average total cost that equal 4.2. So if we make the calculation, the total revenue minus the total cost will reach the total profit. So in this graph, the small area here, we call it as the total cost, and the larger one equal the total revenue. The difference between total cost and total revenue equal this very small area that is the total profit. This is the total profit in the perfect competition that happen when we apply the condition of the equilibrium, that is marginal cost equal marginal revenue or price. This graph again make it more clearer. This is the total revenue, the whole area, and this is the total cost, the blue area. The difference between both, this small area, that is the total profit. Here, another case. As I mentioned before, it's not necessary to reach the equilibrium point while we are making a profit. Sometimes the firm is not able to make a profit, but it will make losses. So where we can reach the equilibrium point is in the case of minimizing losses. So we would like to reach the minimum losses. Here in this case, suppose the price in the market is 3.5 for a unit. So the firm will take the price as it is because it is a price taker, and the point A is the equilibrium point where price or marginal revenue equal marginal cost. So in this case, as it is clear, the price is lower than the average total cost. So here we are sure that we are making losses, but we would like to minimize losses. This is point A is the point that the firm will minimize losses. If we increase the quantity more than 225 or decrease the quantity less than 225, the losses will increase. So point A is the equilibrium point that minimize losses. Again, point A here is the equilibrium point where we minimize losses, and as long as the price is sufficient to cover average variable cost, the firm stands to gain by operating instead of shutting down, which means that when the price here is higher than the average variable cost, so the firm will never shut down, but it will continue because it is making operating profit. We call this is as operating profit, while it make economic losses. This area economic losses because it is less than average total cost, but this area is economic, or it is operating profit because it's higher than average variable case. So in this case, when the equilibrium point is on point A, the firm will continue and will never shut down but will continue operating. Here, this blue area is considered as economic losses, and this area is considered that as operating profit, while this area is the total. Both those two small areas are total fixed cost, and the white area is the total variable cost. So as I mentioned before, in this graph, the firm is making operating profit but economic losses, and the firm will continue operating and will never shut down because it covers all the variable cost and part of the fixed cost. What is the shutdown point? When the firm will shut down. The firm, as I mentioned before, will continue operating when the firm can cover all the variable cost and part of the fixed cost. But if the price decrease until we can cover only the average variable cost and nothing of the fixed cost, so this point is the shutdown point. So in this case, when the market price is very low until we reach the minimum of the average variable cost, so this is the equilibrium point here, so the firm will shut down, and we call this point as the shutdown point, and the firm will shut down because it will never be able to continue because it lose all the fixed cost and will cover only the shutdown point. So this point is the shutdown point. So the short-run supply curve of competitive firm is that part of its marginal cost curve that lies above its average variable cost curve. Here, from this point and up, this marginal cost, the positive part of the marginal cost that is above the average variable cost, we call it as the supply curve, and we can draw this supply curve from the graph. Here, the short-run industry supply curve. The industry supply curve is the summation of the different firms in the market. So if we have in the market firm 1, 2, 3, so the summation of those firms will be the supply curve for the whole industry. This graph also will show how to draw the supply curve from the marginal cost curve, and it's clear that when the demand increases from D to D dash to D double dash, and the price will increase from 5 to 6 to 7. So when the price is 5, so the demand, the quantity supplied is 300, and when the price increased to 6, so quantity supplied is 350, and when the price increased to 7, so quantity supplied is 400. So this part we call it as the supply curve, and this is how to draw this supply curve. Again here, this graph show what I explained before, how to reach the minimum losses or the maximum profit. This is the objective for the firm. So I explained before the shutdown point that make the firm leave the industry when the price is lower than the average variable cost, so the firm cannot cover any of the fixed cost. But if the equilibrium point here on the point A, so the firm can cover all variable cost and all fixed cost, so this is the break-even point. هي نقطة التوازن التي فيها تغطي الشركة كل تكاليفها الثابتة والمتغيرة، ومعروف أن تكاليفها الثابتة والمتغيرة تشتمل بدل الإدارة، وبدل الإدارة هو يسمى الربح العادي. فعندما نقول أننا نغطي كل التكاليف يعني أننا نغطي التكاليف بما فيها الربح العادي، لذلك نقول أن هذه الشركة تغطي أو تعطي ربحا عاديا that is the operating profit and there is no economic profit. Now, if the price increase up than this point D here, so the price will be higher than the average total cost. So in this case, the equilibrium point will be when the price cut the marginal cost, and in this case, the firm will make economic profit that is higher than the total cost including variable cost and fixed cost. This is all about the perfect competition analysis and how to determine the prices or how to determine the profit or the losses, how to calculate the total profit and total losses, how to reach the equilibrium point, and we have to remind you as student that the condition for equilibrium point is where the marginal revenue that equal the price in the perfect competition, this will equal the marginal cost. So when we find or reach the intersection point between marginal cost and marginal revenue or price, so we will return to the equilibrium point. And in this case, we will find our objective, that is to maximize the profit or to minimize losses. Thanks very much for listening, and we will continue in another lecture, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.